You can walk into a room and be charming. You can make people laugh. You can hold conversations for hours. But then everything changes. The moment you get home, you collapse. You can't move. You don't want to talk to anyone, not even your closest friends. And you're confused because you just seemed fine. So fine that people think you're an extrovert. But here's what's actually happening in your brain, and this is the part nobody talks about. If you're an introvert who can be social, you've probably experienced this exact pattern. You go to a party, a work event, or family gathering. You're present, you're engaging. People enjoy talking to you. But inside, you're running on fumes. Your nervous system is working overtime just to maintain the mask. And by the end of the night, you feel this deep, almost inexplicable exhaustion. Not the kind you get from staying up late, a different kind, a mental heaviness that can last for days.
Most people will tell you, you're just tired, go to bed. But that's not what this is. This isn't laziness, this isn't social anxiety, though introversion and anxiety often get confused. This is your brain literally working differently than other people's brains, and the psychology behind it reveals something most introverts don't realize about themselves. Here's what neuroscience shows us. Your brain is wired differently when it comes to dopamine sensitivity. Extroverts have brains that crave external stimulation. Social interaction, excitement, and novelty trigger dopamine release in their brains, and they need a lot of it to feel satisfied. But introverts? Your brain is more sensitive to dopamine, so when you're in stimulating social environments, parties, crowded places, intense interactions, your brain gets overstimulated faster. Every sound, every face, every social cue, your brain is processing and analyzing everything simultaneously. It's like you're walking through life with all your senses at 100%, while other people are at 60%. Instead, your brain actually prefers acetylcholine, a different neurotransmitter that creates calm, focus, and deep thought. That's why quiet, meaningful activities feel rewarding to you. So when you're in social situations, you're not just managing introversion, you're overriding your brain's natural preferences and pushing through overstimulation to engage. Think of it like this. An extrovert at a party is like a smartphone recharging. Stimulation energizes them. An introvert is like that same smartphone with its brightness at maximum running 7 apps at once. You can do it, but your battery drains fast because you're working against your brain's natural wiring, even if you're having fun.
But here's where it gets deeper, and this is what most people miss. That exhaustion you feel, it's not just about introversion. For many introverts, especially those who can be social and even enjoy it, that post-social collapse is actually a trauma response. Here's why. If you grew up in an environment where you had to perform to stay safe, whether that was a chaotic family where you learned to read emotions and stay quiet, a school where being yourself wasn't accepted, a home where emotions weren't discussed so you learned to mask, relationships where you learned that your authentic self was too much, then your introversion isn't just your natural temperament, it's also a learned survival mechanism. You became good at masking because your nervous system learns that masking equals safety. So when you're in social situations, you're not just managing introversion, you're unconsciously protecting yourself with a mask you built years ago. And that mask, it takes enormous energy to maintain. That's why the exhaustion feels so deep. It's not just neurological, it's psychological and emotional too. So here's how to know if this applies to you. Ask yourself these questions. Can you be social and sometimes even enjoy it, but feel empty afterward? Do people often seem surprised when you tell them you're an introvert? After social situations, do you feel more than just tired? Do you feel like you need to recover emotionally? When you're alone, do you feel a sense of relief that's almost desperate, like you can finally breathe? Do you sometimes feel like you're performing, even in social situations where you should feel comfortable? If you answered yes to most of these, here's what that means. You're not just an introvert. You might be what I call a masked introvert. someone whose introversion is tangled with learned protective patterns. And the exhaustion you feel isn't a flaw, it's your nervous system telling you something important. This masking isn't sustainable. That's actually valuable information. Most introvert content stops here. It's like, accept your introversion, recharge alone, you're fine. But that's incomplete. Because if your introversion is connected to trauma or learned masking patterns, you actually need something more than just acceptance. You need to recognize the mask, start noticing when you're performing versus being authentic, understand why you built it. Most of the time, it was necessary. It kept you safe. Decide if you still need it. Now that you're an adult, some of that protection might not serve you anymore. Learn authentic introversion. There's a difference between introversion and protective masking. And that journey, that's where real change happens. That's where you stop feeling guilty for needing alone time. That's where you stop thinking something's wrong with you. And that's where you start building relationships where you don't have to mask. So let's do this. In the comments below, tell me, do you relate to this? Are you an introvert who seems social but feels deeply exhausted afterward? And more importantly, do you think your introversion is connected to something deeper, to a pattern you learned? You're not broken, you're just operating with a nervous system that works differently. And once you understand that, you can actually work with it instead of against it.